You can fix things with duct tape and a screwdriver. You don't need constant noise to feel okay. You can sit in silence without reaching for your phone. And when something breaks, your first instinct isn't to replace it. It's to figure out how it works. If that sounds like you, there's a reason. You grew up in a world that doesn't exist anymore. A world without safety nets, without GPS, without someone tracking your every move. And that world shaped your brain in ways that make you fundamentally different from the generations that came after. You're not nostalgic, you're not resistant to change, you're wired differently, and it shows in how you think, how you react, and how you handle pressure. Let's talk about what growing up in the 70s and 80s actually did to your psychology. Your childhood had one defining feature: freedom. Not the kind of freedom that gets celebrated today, the kind that looked like neglect by modern standards. You were sent outside in the morning and expected back when the streetlights came on. No one checked on you. No one knew where you were. If you got hurt, you handled it. If you got bored, you figured it out. There was no entertainment on demand, no screens to fill the silence, no apps to distract you from discomfort. You had a bike, maybe a ball, and the world in front of you. And that was enough, because it had to be. This wasn't some nostalgic paradise. It was unsupervised reality. And it trained you to rely on yourself in ways that can't be replicated by structure or supervision. You learned to navigate without a map. You learned to entertain yourself without stimulation. You learned that problems didn't pause while you waited for help. You handled them, or you didn't. Either way, you learned. And that kind of learning doesn't happen in a controlled environment. Your parents didn't have parenting books. They didn't have forums or podcasts or Instagram accounts telling them how to raise emotionally intelligent children. They had survival instincts and the belief that you'd figure it out. Many of them grew up during or right after wartime. They knew hardship. They knew scarcity. And they passed that mentality down, not through lectures, but through expectation. You weren't coddled. You were given responsibility early. Chores weren't negotiable. Failure wasn't cushioned with reassurance. If you messed up, you dealt with the consequences. If you succeeded, you didn't get a trophy, you got a nod. Emotional hand-holding wasn't part of the equation. That doesn't mean your parents didn't love you. It means they believed resilience was built through experience, not protection. And whether you agree with that approach or not, it shaped you. It taught you that discomfort is temporary, that feelings don't have to be managed, just moved through, that maturity isn't something you're given, it's something you earn. This created a certain kind of toughness, not the loud, aggressive kind, the quiet kind, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself. Here's something younger generations will never fully understand. Boredom used to be normal. You'd sit at the kitchen table and stare at the wall. You'd lie on your bed and watch the ceiling. You'd wait for your favorite show to come on TV once a week at a specific time, and if you missed it, it was gone. There was no scroll, no algorithm feeding you content, no instant access to every song, every movie, every piece of information ever created. You had stretches of time where absolutely nothing happened, and you survived it. More than that, you thrived in it, because boredom is where creativity lives. When your brain isn't constantly stimulated, it starts generating its own material. You invented games, you built forts, you made up stories, you turned nothing into something because there was no other option. This taught you patience, not the forced, white-knuckled kind, but the natural kind, the kind that doesn't need immediate gratification because you're used to waiting. You learned that not everything needs to be instant, that some things take time, and that's okay. You also learned resourcefulness. When you didn't have what you needed, you improvised, you created, you made it work. That skill doesn't just disappear. It shows up in how you solve problems today. You don't panic when something goes wrong. You assess, you adapt, you move forward, because that's what you were trained to do. No one protected you from failure. You fell off your bike. You got picked last. You got rejected.
You lost games, bombed tests, embarrassed yourself in front of people, and no one rushed in to soften the blow. There were no participation trophies. No one told you that effort alone was enough. You learned quickly that some things require skill, not just intention. And if you didn't have the skill yet, you either worked for it or you accepted the loss. This wasn't cruelty, it was reality, and it taught you something crucial. Failure isn't fatal. You learned that you could survive disappointment, that embarrassment fades, that rejection doesn't define you. You built emotional stability, not through protection, but through exposure. This is why you're calm under pressure today, not because you're naturally unshakable, but because you've already been shaken. You've already lost, failed, fallen, and you got back up. That kind of resilience isn't taught, it's earned, and you earned it young. But here's what makes you truly unique. You're the last generation to grow up fully analog and the first to adapt to the digital world. You remember landlines, handwritten letters, face-to-face conversations without the option to leave. You had to knock on someone's door if you wanted to see them. You had to wait by the phone if you were expecting a call. You lived in a world where connection required effort. And then everything changed. The internet arrived, cell phones, social media, GPS, AI, and you adapted. You learned. You bridged two worlds that most people will only ever know one of.